Hello YouTube, this is Matt speaking from the Bluebird Model Railway channel, here with another Workbench video. This is part 2 of the bullied detailing or renumbering or re-identification video. So this is part 2 and we are looking at detailing and also tenders today. And as you can see in front of me, I have a tender body and a nice set of drawings. Now for those who don't know Portline too well, Portline has a 5,000 gallon tender on it, which is a Series 1 tender. I did different series of tenders, locos, etc. So the one in front of me I have here, which I purchased off eBay for about £20. This is a 1,100 gallon tender, so we're about 100 gallons too much. But not only that, the coal capacity is too big. Now, the drawings I have here, I purchased from RT Models, which stock a good range of bullied or Albert Goodall detailing parts for bullies. The drawings here are for the 5,000 gallon tender, and you've got a nice set of photos as well. Now these are, I believe, 4mm drawings. You can see our tender is about 5mm too long on the bunker. Now I was wondering, well, what can I do to shorten this up to make it look correct? And I did a little bit of a Google search and came across this. Now this was on RM Web. I believe it's by 145 Squadron. Username, not his actual name, and it's basically giving you a small rundown of changing the 5,100 gallon into the 5,000 gallon tender, which is correct for Portline. And you can see it's just basically cutting out the back, chopping off the back of the tender, and basically filling it in with plastic card, which I think is on the next page. There you go. And then you have to take the mounting off to put the mounting back on to the underside of the new top section, so you can actually reattach it. So I'm going to try and do that, just using a small saw, a file, and by the looks of it, a couple of drills. These bits on the back you can take off. These are all clipped on or slightly glued on. I've already actually taken this one off, and you just basically take, or you can scrape the glue off from the inside. You can see there, just scrape the glue off the inside and it should come away quite freely. So what we'll need to do is we'll basically need to look at the plans and drawings and basically trim off about 5mm from the top of the coal bunker. I'm hopefully will not need to repaint this. I'm just going to repaint the back section black, and hopefully then I won't damage any of the side paintwork, so I can just modify it and then paint it, paint the top, etc. So that's a nice little job to do. While I'm on to detailing and changing things, I have a nice little delivery here of various bits and pieces. Some more detailing parts from RT Models, again from the Albert Goodall range, I think his name is. These are some drain cocks, lost brass drain cocks. These are some push-pull gearing for the, or brake rigging I should say, for the brakes. If you haven't got any of those from Hornby, because they're getting quite scarce now, you can always order from him. This is a casting for the, I believe it's the vacuum tanks on top of the tender. Very nice casting. And I think last of all for this one, we have some lost wax castings of the ladder steps which are on the front of the loco. Quite nice quality, and they will do quite nicely because, again, detailing packs for bullies are very hard to get hold of. I think Hornby may have even discontinued some of the Hornby ones, detailing packs, etc. You can't get a chassis for these, so I managed to get hold of a second-hand one which is a little bit damaged, which isn't here yet. So what I'll do is I'll start on the tender, strip it down, take all the bits off, and then set to work. Right, before we get on with the tender, which has already been started, I wanted to show you some of the detailed bits from RT Models. I briefly went through these very quickly, but I've cleaned them up from the sprue, the casting sprue. These are all lost wax castings. So we have the drain cock here, which has been trimmed and also bent into shape, which is quite important. If you just have them straight, it will not allow the bogie to swing at the front to allow it to go around the corners. Now also next to these you have the lost wax castings of the ladders at the front of the loco, which sort of wrap around the buffer and the buffer beam. Now what's nice about these ones are they have an extra little support on them, which you can see there, which comes at sort of an L-shaped angle or a 90-degree angle. That gives an extra glue point, if you like, so it gives it a bit more surface area, and that wraps around the back of the buffer beam, whereas these two bits at the top, glue onto the buffer shank or the buffer housing. If we turn the loco over to attach the drain cock, all you need to do is drill 2 small holes either end of the cylinder with a 0.7mm drill bit. Then you can fit the drain cocks on, which I will do now, and I'll talk you through the next bit very quickly. Okay, so we have fitted the drain cock into the 2 holes in the cylinder, which I have already pre-drilled. You can see the shape of the drain cock, which allows the bogie to swing a little bit further to the left, and also do the same with the right hand one. Just allows it to go around some tighter corners. You can see it overruns slightly at the front, which is mainly due to the drain cock being actually attached to the front step on the real thing, which I'll be doing with this one as well. So this is our little lost brass casting, or lost wax brass casting, and you can see the extra support on the back, which wraps itself around the back of the buffer beam like so. Now I suggest you glue that in place with some super glue gel, as you don't want it to run into the buffer housing, meaning your buffer will not spring out and back out again, or in and out I should say. Now what you can also do with this material as well, because it's brass, you can actually solder the drain cock to the back of the step, which gives it even more support, meaning it won't fall off so easily like the Hornby ones. Now what's nice about these lost brass castings of the step is they're very durable and they will not break, and they look a hell of a lot better and a bit more sturdy as well, especially with the extra mounting on the top there, which you can see. So I'll solve that all out, glue that in position, solder it to the drain cock, and trim off what is left of the drain cock, which is going over on this side, and that'll be that job done on the front. Okay, you can see the step is in place. It's not actually glued, it's being held on, being soldered onto the actual drain cock itself. The drain cock is actually just lightly held on with a dab of glue, not very much, so I can get it off. You can see it's been bent into shape, but there's the opposite side. You can see it's been bent into shape. You can see the solder has been added to the drain cock and the step. So taking the drain cock off, you will actually see it's actually loosely applied. This step has just been held in place with a small metal rod while I was soldering it so I didn't burn my fingers, but if you've got asbestos fingers you can easily hold it down while just adding the heat and the solder and the flux, which I will cover in another Workbench video in the future, showing you how to solder brass. But you can see there the step's being held on with the drain cock, which means when the step is glued onto this section you can see that will give the step a bit more support. Okay, turning our attention back to the tender now. Now this is another tender body which I have, which is the one we started out with, a similar one we started out with. You can see this is the unmodified one completely. Some of the bits have been removed, as you can see here. There's the box to go over the, I think it's the vacuum cylinders on the back. Now firstly I'll strip all this down, take all the filler caps off, the boxes, handrails, ladders off the back, etc. And the coal load as well, which easily comes out. Now after you've done all that, I drill a series of holes around the outside of the tender, trying not to get or catch the actual bodywork on the outside. So drill a few millimeters in from the edge with a small drill bit and just go all the way around the outside, drilling a series of holes, and then that will pop out. Then what I do is file off the sides to make it nice and square, and then what I do with the back of the tender, because I have to remove I think it's about 3 or 4 millimeters off the back. So that's the end of the tender on the drawing, and as you can see there is about a 3 to 4 millimeter extra bit on the back. So then I have to cut that off, file that back. The actual slope in the coal space is removable, it's only glued on with a couple of extra little bits inside, so that will come off quite easily. Once you've drilled all the way around the outside of the tender top and cut off the back of the bunker, you can then remove the top space. And it is important, hopefully you can see this, that you can save the little attachment there for the screw to screw onto the body, because then we can reuse that on the new tender which we're making. Quite important. So what I generally do is cut around it, just file off the top, and then what I usually do is put the screw in from the underneath of the tender chassis, so that holds in place. Then I can put a bit of glue on the top, put the new body on, and then it will relocate it. But before that, obviously I need to put the new top of the tender body on. Now here we are, this is one I've done earlier in Blue Peter fashion. I have basically put a new piece of plastic card. I've left it white and haven't painted it yet so you can see. So I put a new piece of plastic card on the top. This is a similar thickness to the plastic which was removed. I think it's about 1.5 millimeters thick. Then I've relocated the filler caps and the additional filler cap on the side here from pictures and the drawing itself. These are all measured away from the drawings, transferred onto there. So top of the plastic card is about 1.5mm thick, cut and filed a bit of filler around the outside where it wasn't quite right or flush enough. The back of the tender is another piece of plastic card, only a very thin piece, about 0.2 or 0.3 mil thick, but you can see it's also coming away from the back, so it's not flush with the back, so it's sticking out a fair little bit, but that is correct to the plan I have in front of me. So that's basically the top completed, all the holes re-drilled for all the items. You can see the casting for the vacuum cylinders on the back. Now on my drawing and on the pictures I've seen of the tender which was behind port line, it was offset, so it wasn't centered, which you can see there, it's offset to one side. And then the shield or whatever it is goes over the top, which will be made out of some brass sheets and then bent to shape. After this anyway, what I will go on to is basically priming it and painting the top only, and then gluing the cylinders on, and then putting the brass shroud around the outside of it. And then I'll be repairing any other little bits which are on this tender, because there's a corner missing on the front here, and there'll be some ladders that are required to be put on as well, because this one didn't come with any. And then that will be the tender finished. And then hopefully that'll be pretty much the loco finished. So obviously I still need to renumber it, which you can see in the background. And you can see from the last section that I have now fitted the steps and the drain cock. So these are soldered, these aren't glued on as of yet, but you can see it on both sides. The step soldered on to the drain cock, so that gives it a bit of extra support and strength, so it won't go flying off if it's hit. But generally that's the conversion pretty much from clan line to port line, and hopefully at the end of the video, when it's all finished, I will add in some finished pictures of it so you can all see. Thanks for watching, and hopefully in the next Workbench video I will be showing you some brass soldering, so soldering a chassis together, and possibly a nickel etched chassis as well, which a friend of mine has given me to have a look for him. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video and hope it's given you some ideas. Any comments or questions, please leave them in the description or comments box below or whatever. And have a look at the model page as well, which I'll leave in the description box as well. That's all for now, and I'll see you on the next one.